Welcome back to another episode of Uncontested Investing. I'm your host, Nate Zielinski, and joining me across the table is John Seroka. John, you are a president of a marketing and PR firm. You help private lenders in the mortgage industry, so you're probably a great guy to talk to. Everybody wants marketing tips and tricks from you. I know you're going to share a couple with us today, but first, let's start with introductions. Let everybody know who you are, why you're here, what you do, and then we'll get into your story and everything good surrounding marketing.
That sounds great. Well, like you said, John Seroka, I'm president of Seroka Marketing and PR, and we've been in business now for 37 years, and it's been a really great run.
Awesome. Yeah, so we've had a few people that have some longevity in the industry. 37 years, you hit it right off the bat there. That's an impressive number to stay in business, stay in one industry, carve out a niche, and be able to help people for over 3 decades, coming up on 4. Family is a massive part of your story, though. If you look on the Seroka website, you have a few other people. I don't want to assume. I think it's a father and maybe a brother that are involved in the company as well. So you want to tell us about what that family legacy kind of means to you and being the next generation to kind of moving Seroka forward?
Yeah. So the legacy, look, I love what I do. We've been serving this industry for a very long time. I started in the industry over 20 years ago, and we're just going to keep doing it. And I can see this extending for a very long time. I'm looking at ways to build out the company even further at this point. And we're getting more involved in working with real estate brokerages, as well as individual real estate agents and brokers themselves, especially after the NAR settlement and what's happening there, because I think that there's a significant opportunity to assist them with their own branding efforts and building out their own marketing and ways of getting new business.
That's very exciting stuff. Going back to the family aspect of it, do you remember any pressure when you first joined? Was there a weight on your shoulders? And do you remember a time where that kind of eased off or fell off kind of naturally? Because there's a lot of family ties in this industry, right? A lot of people have their fathers or mothers or uncles, grandfathers kind of help usher them into the real estate industry. So there is that family aspect, no matter what avenue you go down. Do you remember that at all?
There was no pressure placed on me to get into this. I'll tell you something. This goes back to almost before I graduated, actually, from college, where I had a lot of insightful conversations with my father about, what I should do with this degree, because what I did was I was getting a degree in broadcast and electronic communications, as well as a minor in business. And I was trying to figure out what to do with it after I graduated. And we took a look at my background and what I had really enjoyed doing while I was in school. And I really gravitated towards positions that were commission-based, a lot of sales-oriented positions, and also I had a substantial amount of telemarketing in my background as well. Okay. So I think when you tie all of that experience together, it set me up well for the concept of becoming, getting into the mortgage industry. So my dad actually said to me, he said, so look, have you ever thought about becoming a mortgage loan originator? And I said, I have no idea what that means. and then he started describing to me what that looks like and what my job would look like. And I thought to myself, oh, wow.
Started checking the boxes for you.
Yeah, that sounded just absolutely incredible. It sounded like a real career. So from that point on, I was really looking forward to graduating and then actually getting into the business. And, right after I graduated, I got into it. I started working with several different brokerages and finally settled on one that had just a great mentorship program. I mean, my mentor was just fantastic. I learned all aspects of the business and how the industry really worked, and I just got to learn how the entire, all of the parts work together in the entire ecosystem, which was very valuable for me, going forward. And after that, then I started doing a lot of work from a branding perspective for myself and a marketing perspective in terms of how I was going to get deals from real estate agents. Because when I first got into the business, I was doing a lot of telemarketing. I was just dialing for dollars.
Yeah.
That's what it was all about.
Oh, yeah.
Because the rates were relatively low at the time, and I had a significant amount of success as a result of that. Because rejection meant nothing to me.
Yep.
It meant nothing. And then I was thrust into an area where I had to get business from real estate agents. And after, I started accumulating some success in that direction, I started winning awards and things like that for my production.
Yeah.
And then my father took note of this, and he said, have you ever thought about the possibility of joining the family business and helping grow the family business? So at the time, it seemed a bit daunting to jump tracks. So I thought about it, and he got in my head, and I started thinking, what does this look like? What would it look like for me to be actually pitching, my boss at the time, the owner of the company, and how it would look to work with other originators and helping them build out their marketing and their brands and things like that. And I started getting really excited by that concept.
Yeah.
So at some point, I just decided, you know what? I think that there's a significant opportunity here. I really liked the concept of being able to speak directly to lenders. I had all of the background knowledge to be able to do it, and I pulled the trigger and made it happen. Cool. So I jumped on board,
Yep.
And then I didn't look back. And it's been a fantastic ride since then. I've really enjoyed working with all aspects of the industry, really. So mortgage lenders, private lenders, and technology companies that provide various services to the industry. And after I got into the marketing side, it just so happened that at that point in time, there was significant opportunity in the marketplace to buy homes. So I started doing a lot of real estate investing at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, you know what? I think I extended myself a bit too far.
It can happen. It can happen, yes, to the best of us.
Bought a little bit too much. I got involved with a little bit too much, and I started realizing, okay, I need to pull back on this because this has moved from a side hustle to becoming another full-time job.
Yeah. As it often does in this industry.
Right.
So that's a great full circle story there. A lot to unpack. I think one of the things that I wanted to touch on, though, very quickly was the fact that you dropped in a mentor there. So in this industry, that's a very popular thing, right? Somebody that's done it before, achieved success. A lot of people get into the real estate industry because they see somebody that's very successful and they want to kind of replicate or try to, do a portion of the success that they've achieved. So I'm wondering if you could take me back to the mentor that you found and how helpful they were. Not saying that you couldn't accomplish this on your own, but do you remember those first few times where you actually asked your mentor for advice and, how impactful that actually was?
That's a great question. You know what? I very much believe in mentors, and I think that I got to where I, got to achieve success more quickly as a result of having that mentor, because she was absolutely fantastic. And I have to tell you that I don't remember ever. Okay, so I've asked for advice before, but she was very proactive in giving it to me. Yeah. And she, very strong-willed woman, very strong, and she was extremely good at what she did. And she had been in the business for a long time and knew exactly where I was in my learning curve. Okay. And she told me, okay, here's what you need to do if you want to get business from real estate agents. These are the things that you have to do. She laid it all out for me. And she also helped me from a branding standpoint. And she also helped me a little bit from a marketing standpoint as well, and helped me, kind of like stimulate my thought process in terms of different things that I could do. And then I took that and instilled some of my own creativity into that. There you go. And then in collaborating with my father, who owned his own agency, of course, with all of that influence, I was able to come up with some pretty cool things that I was able to do to actually bring business to real estate agents, like actually find a buyer and bring that buyer to an agent that I really wanted to do business with.
Very cool. That's got to be a pretty powerful formula right there with all that advice.
Yeah.
So one of the things, going back to Seroka, if you take a quick gander on the website, digital marketing success is clearly a mission of the companies, right? So what does that look like for you when you're pulling back the layers and, somebody's hiring your company to help them with marketing? What goals are you trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to get them to? What does that digital marketing success look like?
Okay, so digital marketing success looks exactly like this. It's about getting qualified people to the website that convert, okay? So there's a lot of KPIs. That's a big one. But there's a lot of other KPIs along the way that you need to hit and do well at in order to accomplish that objective. So other KPIs including things like, click rates, email open rates, webinar attendance, whatever. There's a lot of them, website traffic and everything else. So you have to a really good marketing firm is going to be able to identify all of these KPIs, and then you'll be able to set some benchmarks, and you have to be able to do progressively better and set certain goals with each of them, because every time you raise all of the other KPIs that go down that path, then you will also increase the most important thing, which is conversions.
Gotcha. So I assume you're taking this from a perspective of you're looking at pretty much everything involved that goes into a marketing strategy. Right. Is there one thing, this might be a tough question, but is there one thing from a marketing perspective that, you see a lot, or companies may be surprised that you go in and change something and like the impact is not only quick, but also very positive? Does that question make sense?
Yes, it does, especially in the private lending sector. What we come across a lot is a couple of key things that we assist private lenders with, right off the bat. I suppose pretty much any company, but I see it, I guess I see it more with private lenders in terms of assisting them with their website, the health of their website.
Gotcha.
And that's so significant. Because what I see is, a lot of private lenders have built their businesses through word of mouth. They have a significant word of mouth influence, and that's how they've driven a lot of their business. But then they want to expand into new marketplaces, and bring on more people, and they want to just get a little bit bigger and gain more market share. And then at that point, the word of mouth doesn't work as well anymore. So now they have to switch and put on their marketing hats, and they have to ask more serious questions like, okay, so what does a marketing strategy actually look like? And how, who do I talk to help me implement this or figure this thing out? And so that's where we come in, and we can help them with their websites and the health of that website. Because there can be a lot of problems. We see broken links, broken menus. There are not very well optimized. They're built on platforms that are not easily serviceable, like Wix and others. So they're non-WordPress type sites, and there's a lot of clip art type things in them. So there's a lot of things that hide that site from the public, so it can't be found. So what we need to do is sometimes, my gosh, if we can get in there and we can just service the current website, fantastic. Because what I want to do is I want to get very quickly to the point where we can start helping them build market share.
Yes.
Okay. That's very important.
There are some obstacles in the way of that, though, I assume.
Right. There are obstacles in the way of that. But if I can service the current site, fantastic, okay? Sometimes it's less expensive and quicker, however, to build a brand new site. Okay. And many times when it's, especially when it's not built on a WordPress platform, that's definitely a very high consideration at that point.
Yeah.
I'd say that, and then the other one is the branding side of things. So a lot of times when I get on the phone, I like to ask a lot of questions. I tailor the questions to each one of, the people that we work with, of course. And after doing a certain amount of investigation and what they're doing on digitally, what I can find. And then what I ask questions about why people should work with them, what their elevator pitch is, and unique selling points, how they're positioning themselves, mission statements, things like this, because I want to get a feel for how do they communicate what they do, and how do they win, why people should work with them instead of somebody else. I like to get a feel for all of that, because then once I have that information, then I can figure out where there's certain gaps and how I can help them fill those gaps, and what we might have to do to help them really build and tighten up their brand and their positioning. And a lot of times there's so many different lenders that it's very difficult to build a brand from the standpoint of, you offer these products and these services or something like that, because everybody offers the same stuff. They have the same technology and they have similar programs and everything else. So you really have to look at it from a corporate personality standpoint, and how do you build out their corporate personality? And if you look at some of the top players in the industry, they all have their own distinct, corporate personalities. So how do we build that out for them?
Very interesting. I think that's a great answer for so many people in this industry to hear, specifically people that, own companies, people in marketing that work on websites. I think we talked about this before the interview. There's a big difference between a nice looking website and one that's user-friendly and a great user experience, as you mentioned, some of the broken links being hard to find. So, that's got to be a big hurdle that you see a lot of people think that they created this beautiful website, but that's only half the battle, because once you get people to that website, they have to enjoy their experience. They have to be able to find what they're looking for very quickly. So there's a lot of hurdles that go into it rather than just having the, xyz.com, if you will.
And that's where a very good sitemap comes in, because a sitemap is really a hierarchical layout of the website itself. And once you have a very good sitemap in place, you can see how people will navigate the site. Like you can see how many pages will be necessary for the site. You can uncover duplication in information or gaps in information. So I think that's where the sitemap is very important, and also a good sitemap will help Google be able to crawl it more effectively and index the pages.
Very interesting stuff. I think a lot of people, again, overlook so many things. So for you to be able to come from a marketing expert perspective, right, and be able to break that down, there's so many bells and whistles and things to think about when creating your perfect website for your user, not only for you as a company. We're going to move on, though, to our Moneymaking Minute. This is a segment we have every episode on Uncontested Investing. The way it works, it's going to be if you can offer our listeners an investment strategy, an app, skill, part of your daily routine, anything that you think attributes to your success that you can then kind of relay to our listeners and help them achieve success in 2024 and beyond. Does that make sense?
That sounds good.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. What I would say is continuous learning and adaptability, because what I see play out so many times is that sometimes people stop learning or they stay in place, and then they lose their connection with the industry, and they lose their connection with what's going on, what's happening from in how the economy influences the industry, and how technology is changing the industry, and even marketing. And you have to keep up with what's going on. So it's very important to continue to attend industry events and network, very important, and also to keep up with what's going on in the industry by reading the right trade publications, and also keep up with your tech stack. And I think that's so important, because you don't want to become a dinosaur.
Interesting way to put that, avoid becoming a dinosaur. I think the marketing angle is one of those specifically where it moves so fast. There's new facets of marketing that seemingly come in every year. So do you specifically have a favorite aspect of marketing? Is there an avenue that you like? Is it just that the idea of marketing in general keeps you exciting? Because like you said, it's kind of ever changing. So you always kind of do have to adapt. And it's almost a new profession every year with the, AI, social media, a lot of different things coming to the marketing fray. So what is your favorite part if you had to nail down just one?
My favorite part of marketing is the type of marketing that gets it done, that wins. And I'll tell you what that means to me. So I am in a very I'll call it a privileged position because I have such a great team and they're so good that I can be marketing tactic agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means basically is that because we have so many great people on our team that are good with so many different marketing tactics, and they understand how all of the tactics work together to produce a result, that's what's really important to me. That's really important to me. And I'll tell you why. There are many marketing firms out there that don't necessarily have the breadth of service that we have. So they have to, if they meet with the client and the client shares their goal, okay, then how do they meet that goal? How does that marketing company meet that goal? They only have a specific set of tactics that they can use. So they have to make those tactics work to accomplish that goal. And other times those marketing companies are order takers. So basically, do this for me, do that for me, and then they execute on that. And I think that that's fine. But what I like is that we can be held responsible for the bottom line results. And that's what's really important to me, because I want to work with companies where I get to be responsible for getting those results and putting the tactics together, having that surround sound way of doing the business. What am I trying to say here? So basically what I like to do is I like to be able to have a multifaceted approach.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
That ties everything together and that ultimately produces the results that the client is looking for.
Yeah, again, going back to your website, that's one of the things that impressed me right away. You offer a very wide array of services to people that want to work with your firm. So, how proud are you of that? Because I don't imagine that, when this company when this company started 37 years ago, that you had all those services ready to go right away. So I'm sure There's been some growth. There's been some milestones. There's probably been some setbacks, but you guys are really in a very great position right now. So how proud are you that you can kind of take that full array of problems that people come to you with, and you probably have a solution for almost all, most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah. I am very proud of that fact, and I feel like that I'm in a very privileged position, or we as an agency are in a very privileged position, because we have very good people. We have an excellent team that are, very good. They're expert in all various aspects of marketing and public relations that we need to be expert in order to be able to help private lenders, the mortgage industry, other companies that provide technology and services to the private money, mortgage, and real estate sectors. And it's really a fantastic thing, because I don't like to, look, there are companies out there that are looking for that one tactic that is the best tactic that they can use to drive business or to build their brand awareness or to drive new opportunity or build market share. What is that tactic? And it just doesn't work that way. And what I like to do is be able to work with a variety of tactics to create that surround sound effect for them that helps accomplish their goal, because you have to hit people from different angles. You have to show up in their emails. You have to show up in their social feeds. So you have to show up in a variety of places.
Yes. Interesting. So we've talked a lot about your kind of journey to where you are now, and I'm glad that we kind of sat down for this interview. I hope people have listened up until this point, not only for the fact, but where I'm going with this next question will definitely help that. A lot of times people see, he's working for his father's company or his mother's company, and now he's the president, right? It must have been so easy. It must have been handed to him. But you recounted your stories as, being a loan originator. And not only were you a loan originator, you were in LA and Orange County. I imagine two pretty ruthless places to make it as a loan originator. You're fighting for listings and, commissions. There's got to be a lot of things that go into that. So for your journey, what do you remember from that experience, and how vital do you think that experience was to get you where you are now?
Nate, I will tell you that it was critical. That whole experience was critical, very important to my career arc, if you will. I will tell you, it was tough. It's a story of like rags to riches and back to rags before I could, get back to the riches part again, right? And so when I moved there, shortly after I moved there is when rates went down. And that's when I actually got into the industry, was at that very point. And I started working with a brokerage, and it was really all about, at that time, dialing for dollars.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Yeah. And I was very good at that because, you know what, I had built up a lot of resilience, and I had a thick skin, and, it meant nothing to me. Rejection meant absolutely nothing to me. And because of that, I was an animal on the phone. I could outdo almost anybody else in my office. I remember I didn't take breaks. I just kept dialing and going. And as a result of that, I uncovered a lot of opportunity for myself, and I started making money hand over fist, more than I had ever imagined that I could make at that point in my life. I was like, 22 years old, 23 years old, something like that. And I already had my career path. I knew that I was going to do that, and I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. But then what happened was, the owner, the gentleman that I work for, he said to me, John, you're doing great, but this is not going to last forever, just so you know. And I don't know, maybe I didn't believe him, but I didn't think it would end so quickly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, within, I would say within about 2 years of the time I started, give or take, was when rates started shooting back up, and I was like cut off. Yeah, it wasn't happening anymore, and I was not saving any money. I was young. I was having a lot of fun. So that's how I experienced it. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, I can't believe that this just happened. And then after that, I started having to figure out how to acquire business from real estate agents. And that was another challenge. Yeah. So, yeah.
Very, very cool stuff. And you've hit on it a few times, so I really want to ask this question because I think it's important for our listeners to hear. The real estate investment space, you get a lot of no's. There are some leaps of faith that are required to kind of succeed in this industry. Where does that, you've mentioned it, you don't fear rejection, you don't mind hearing no, you're immune to that, if you will. Mm-hmm. Was that something that you practiced? Was that something that just kind of came naturally? You had to work in this industry to find that to be true? Where did that come from, where you just had that passion, that energy to keep persisting through no's and hang-ups and voicemails, I'm sure?
Because I knew it was a numbers game. Because as I think I shared with you, I always gravitated towards sales type positions with commissions. Mm-hmm. And I had also done several, telemarketing gigs, and that really built up my resilience and gave me a very thick skin. And especially through telemarketing, I knew it was a numbers game. So that's why it really didn't bother me. That's just the way things were for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that answer. And, a lot of private lenders may be tuning in to see what marketing tips and tricks they can get. But I bet if there's any loan originators listening right now, they're stopping this, podcast and picking up the phone and calling. Because as you said, it's a numbers game. It's a war of attrition. You got to just keep going and have that thick skin, and it kind of just happens over time. But if you can hear something like that before you get into it, it can only help you hit the ground running in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I've heard from several people, if you can telemarket, you can do anything.
That's great. I love that. So John Seroka is bringing the heat today. We're going to take a quick break. Shout out to our sponsors. We'll be right back with Deal Breaker, Deal Maker on this episode of Uncontested Investing. Seroka is the leading marketing and PR agency for the private lending and mortgage industries. Are you looking to elevate your brand and connect with more investors or home buyers? Look no further than Seroka. With decades of experience, Seroka understands the unique challenges and opportunities in the mortgage and private lending sectors. They offer a full suite of marketing services from branding and digital marketing to PR and strategic consulting, all tailored to help you achieve your goals. Visit Seroka.com today to learn more about how Seroka can help you stand out in a crowded market and drive your business forward. That's Seroka.com. Welcome back to this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. I'm your host, Nate Zielinski, and joining me across the table today is John Seroka. John, we're at that point in the episode where we're going to get to deal breaker, deal maker. Now, typically, this is kind of where we see transactions break down, or what can you attribute a successful transaction to. For you, we're going to do it a little bit differently. You're going to, have a personal lens to this, and something that was a setback and what attributed to that, and then something that was a personal success for you and what you can really link that to, and what was the driving force for that success, if you will. So you can take it away for this week's segment of Deal Breaker, Deal Maker.
So I think that my successes over time built upon each other, and I didn't have any crazy breakout success that launched me into the stratosphere, if you will. But it was a lot of little successes built upon each other. Now, maybe other people might look at it differently, and they might think that some of the things that I had done were significant. I view them as just stepping stones, okay? As far as setbacks were concerned, of course, I've had setbacks over time, and because it's challenging. Nothing's easy. Nothing that's worth achieving is easy. So, there were times when I struggled with how to build relationships with, for example, real estate agents that could provide me with significant opportunities if they would just work with me. And I think that in the process of figuring that out, of course, it was a very challenging thing. But eventually I figured it out because I tried different methodologies. I tried to figure out, okay, what is it exactly that I could do that would really win their attention? And once I figured that out and I implemented and I was able to move that ball forward, that helped me significantly in my career. So it's a lot of trial and error, and that's how you get from point A to point B.
John, that's a great answer. And there's been two themes that have crept into the last few answers. It's the numbers game, as you kind of mentioned, the incremental success, and you just keep going and going and going, and the mindset, right? So it's not something to be viewed as a setback or a negative or a failure. It's just, what do I need to learn to be successful? And that's kind of what your journey entails and kind of what you just depicted right there.
Exactly.
So one thing I want to pivot to, some common ground here. I'm a writer myself. I get a few articles published, in publications in the industry here and there. From a blog perspective, is that something that you felt was very important to educate people, or is that a very good marketing ploy to help your website and help your word of mouth, help your credibility? Is a little bit of a blend of both.
Okay. So yes, I agree. It is a blend of both. And I think that a blog is a critical component of what you need to have. You need to have a very good blog roll on your website because it provides a lot of benefit to you from a search engine optimization standpoint. Look, a lot of people say that you have to have blog posts that are, like incredibly long, 1,500, 2,000 words or something like that. I've read that before, but that's completely incorrect, because if you write a very good blog post where where you're educating people and they really get something out of it, it's good quality information, it has your own voice attached to it. Look, there's not a lot of topics that you can cover, if any at all, that are brand new.
Yes.
But the idea is to take a topic and make it yours and add your own tone, your own voice to it, add some of your own thought to it to make it yours. And that's very important. And you don't want to try to trick Google into ranking you, okay? because it's very smart. This is not 2005. It's not 2010. It's 2024. And Google is very smart. And Google can tell if you're writing for humans or if you're writing for Google.
Yeah.
So write for humans. Make it very good content. And the other thing is it's good from an SEO standpoint, driving people to your website, right? And that's so important to do because, a lot of times, we do website evaluations and we discover that 80% of the traffic is branded. So it's, because people like look up the name of your company. They know the name of your company. They're already familiar with you. So it's branded search versus unbranded search. It's 20%, let's say. We like to see it the exact opposite, where it's 20% branded and 80% unbranded search. And blogging helps you accomplish that. It helps you optimize those keywords that you want people that people use to try to find information about services, and products that you provide. Okay, so it's very important to get that right.
And that's how they find you, right? They're looking for something and, look at oh, wow, Seroka. Okay. All right. That can take my marketing to the next level. All right. Nice. Yeah. So, and then the last thing we want to touch on here before we wrap this up, there's a few questions I have left for you, but definitely one of the ones that I wanted to hit on is what brought you to us today. So your home base is in Tampa, but you're in New York City for a conference.
I am.
Networking.
Yeah.
So just how important is that? Another step in marketing, I'm sure, is networking. How important do you think that is? Do you have any connections from past trade shows or networking events that, really stuck with you and you still talk to these people today, still work with these people today? Or just in general, how important do you think that facet of marketing or that facet of networking is to succeed?
Nate, it's incredibly important having that consistency, going to the trade shows, meeting with people meeting new people. So I think that that's one of the most important things that you can do for your career is staying in touch with people.
Yeah. Is there any...
and building those connections.
Any information or like tips or tricks? Because I imagine as a president of a marketing company, you're familiar with being the face or the brand or the first person that people see when they look for Seroka. So do you have any, tips or anything that you thought of that's helped you, go maneuver that challenge? Or was it, again, something that kind of just over time, you kind of just felt more comfortable with it and kept going?
Yeah, I've been doing that for such a long time. I've been in the circuit. I've been networking for such a long time, and I've been going to trade conferences for such a long time that it's really something that has come very natural in terms of tips or tricks. I would just say get out there, do it. Go to the opening receptions, meet people, shake hands, and don't be afraid to approach people and get to know them. And I think that what's very important is being in the moment, active listening, really listening to somebody and not looking over their shoulder, or looking at who is over there or who else you can speak with, but actually when you show an interest in people and getting to know them and understanding their story, that is truly invaluable. And that's where you can really develop good connections with people. And you never know what that could lead to. That person may not be somebody that you're going to be directly doing business with at any time, but they know other people. And if they like you, they can introduce you to other people. So you really have to love people to be in this business. You do. You have to care about people. You have to care about their stories, take an interest, and that's part of the fun of it.
Definitely.
Right?
Yes. And again, numbers game. Don't be afraid of a awkward social interaction or somebody turning you down, right? It's, prepare, practice, and then put it into action.
Right.
You can start seeing those results over time, because I think, again, another facet of this industry is, as you mentioned, you have to love people. You have to want to be in those environments and actually talk to somebody, forge connections. Sometimes they can go awry and people get discouraged. But if you just keep at it and realize that, people aren't just born perfect at something. Yes, they are naturally inclined to be able to succeed at something, But again, there's hours of practice, there's reps that go into that. And, people think it happens overnight. More often than not, it's years of training, practice, whatever the case may be, to get to where they are today.
Exactly.
The last direction I want to take this conversation is a passion project, something that maybe isn't involved in marketing, isn't involved in the real estate industry. We've hinted at it with a few of your answers so far. This industry can burn you out. It's a very taxing, demanding, 365, 24/7 type of industry if you let it consume your life. Is there anything outside of marketing or the PR firm that you focus on that re-energizes you, recharges you, that you would consider a passion project for you?
I have 2 passion projects. One of them is definitely my family.
Yep.
I am so blessed to have a beautiful family, a beautiful wife, and they are extremely supportive of me, and I appreciate that like you wouldn't believe. And I go to work for them. I go to work for me too. I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean it that I don't love what I do, but I go to work for them because I want to be able to do everything I can for them and for my family, and to be able to, really enjoy life and enjoy very good, moments with them. Yep. I would say that my other passion project, quite honestly, it would be me and keeping myself healthy.
Yes.
Right. I like to work out every morning, and I work out probably 5 days a week. And I also like to eat very healthy. I'm very focused on maintaining my health and longevity, and really, keeping myself up to par too, because it comes down to a quality of life too. If I want to be able to enjoy my family as long as I can, then I have to do, everything else that I need to do to be able to support that and facilitate that.
Yeah, I love that. The foundation, the family, the health. It seems like such a simple answer, but, those type of things don't need to be overcomplicated. It's, find what works for you and keep drilling at that. And the health of it all is extremely important. You're not the first person to touch on working out, mental health,
right,
physical health in general. There are so many long nights and road trips and things that you have to endure in this industry that, from an outsider looking in, oh, that's not that hard to do. But, when you're on 3, 4, 5 flights in a month, you're away from your family. It's harder to find gyms. It's harder to eat healthy. Having that discipline and that willpower, I think that can translate into this industry and just help you succeed without people even knowing it. Sometimes people may plan for that and like, this is going to set me up for success. Sometimes it just happens by accident because they have those healthy habits in place.
Exactly.
John, thank you so much for joining us. The last thing is, you have so many tips, tricks, knowledge in that brain as it pertains to marketing, this industry. I'm sure people are going to want to have your contact information. We'll have that all in the bio of the YouTube video. But how can people find you? Is there any way that you're educating, networking on a consistent basis, maybe mentoring? How can people find more of John Seroka?
Look me up on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find.
Nice. Short and sweet. I love that. All right. So you have it there. Find John on LinkedIn. You have it there. Find John on LinkedIn. And for this episode of Uncontested Investing, this is your host, Nate Zielinski, signing off. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.